I rise today to speak about the greatest threat the United States faces in the next century, the threat of Communist China. I've been saying it for months. Communist China is not our friend. They are stealing our technology, refusing to open up their markets to foreign goods as required by the WTO, militarizing the South China Sea, even after promising President Obama they wouldn't, holding over 1 million Uyghurs in prison camps just for their religion, harvesting the organs of detainees against their will, and Communist China is intentionally pushing fentanyl into the United States, killing Americans every day. Communist China continues to strip the people of Hong Kong of their basic rights. I was the first U.S. senator to visit Hong Kong since the protest started nearly 6 months ago. I had the opportunity to meet with protesters, students, parents, and grandparents who are fighting to regain the freedom they were once promised. I heard their stories, horrible and frightening stories of police brutality, threats against individuals and their families, and mysterious disappearances. 6 months in, and no signs of Communist China loosening their grip. Their efforts to crack down on the protests in Hong Kong reflect their commitment to denying basic human rights and snuffing out any opposition to their totalitarian goals. We cannot stay silent. General Secretary of the Communist Party, Xi, is trying to be the dominant world power. It's Hong Kong now, then it will be Taiwan. Communist China believes that in order for them to be stronger, other freedom-loving countries must be weaker. As Communist China becomes more and more aggressive, we must ask ourselves, is this the next Tiananmen Square? We all remember that famous image. Times have changed, but one thing stays the same. Wherever totalitarian regimes exist, there will be brave freedom fighters who will stand up against injustice and stand for human rights. That's what we're seeing in Hong Kong today. Beijing soldiers have been appearing on the city streets, raising questions about the Army's future role. Will Communist China once again use its military might to quash peaceful protest? Will they again stand against those fighting for human rights and democracy? And will the United States stand by and allow this to happen? We're seeing Americans like Michael Bloomberg putting profits above human rights and propping up the Chinese government by continuing to host huge events in Communist China. It's time for the world to stand and present a unified front against Communist China's aggression. And that starts with supporting the brave people of Hong Kong. We must do everything we can to communicate our commitment to democracy, freedom, and human rights. I'm proud to stand in support of the Hong Kong Freedom and Democracy Act, which will give the United States more authority to reevaluate Beijing's influence on Hong Kong. This bill makes it clear that General Secretary of the Communist Party, Xi, needs to comply with what China agreed to in 1997. Communist China must give Hong Kong its autonomy, or the United States will continue to ramp up pressure on Communist China. We cannot underestimate this threat. We must be vigilant. We must be aggressive. America's role of fighting for freedom and liberty worldwide depends on it. The future of our children, our grandchildren depends on it. To the brave and resilient people of Hong Kong, the United States is with you. Your fight will not be in vain, and it doesn't go unnoticed. And to Communist China and General Secretary of the Communist Party, Xi, consider your next moves carefully. The world is watching. I won't stop fighting until America's economic and political future and the freedom of nations across the globe is secure from the threat of China's influence. I want to thank Senator Rubio and Senator Cardin and all the senators in the U.S. Senate for their support of this bill. I yield the floor.